Nick Robinson here for Polygon, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Adam Isgreen, creative director for Microsoft Studios Publishing, to take an exclusive first look at the Phantom Dust remaster for Xbox One and PC. How's it going, Adam?
It is going great, Nick. How are you?
Good. I'm so pumped to be taking a look at this game. This is kind of our first peek at what this game looks like in motion. But I think before we get into the kind of the nitty gritty Phantom Dust nerd stuff, I know you have a lot of affection for this game. I do too. Just what's the quick one sentence elevator pitch of what Phantom Dust is for people who maybe don't have the nostalgia for this relatively obscure 2004 original Xbox title?
I think it's an action combat game in highly destructible arenas where both wits and reflexes matter. If I was making a high-level pitch, I think that's what I would say. You know, it's an action game that via a collectible card game. It is a completely unique experience. It's one that a lot of us here at Microsoft absolutely adored and have always wanted to figure out a way to bring it back so that people could experience this gem of a game that never really got a shot at a worldwide audience before.
So can you kind of go into what this remaster is? It's not a remake, it's not a sequel, it's not a reboot. It is a remaster of the original 2004 game, but it's running at 1080p, and my understanding is there are some other enhancements as well, right?
Yeah, so technically I don't call it a remaster necessarily, simply because the assets, which were so high quality at the time that the original game was released, they were actually beyond the quality of what an original Xbox game would depict assets at normally. That this is more of a re-release of the original with a lot of improvements along the way. The biggest challenge that we faced in bringing Phantom Dust back was when we recovered the archives from Japan for the original project. There was no final source code. So everything that we've done, everything that we've been able to do in this version of Phantom Dust has been through reverse engineering the binaries and actually hacking and cracking the code back open again in order to make the improvements and changes that we have. So this is one of the reasons that when we started talking about Phantom Dust and people were like, hey, what's the resolution of the game? Is it 69? Is it 4:3? When you, Nick, talked to Shannon and she was like, it's 4:3, it's original assets. The reason was because we didn't actually know what we were going to be able to do because we didn't have the source. So everything that we've done is this hard-fought victory, but I'm really happy with what we've been able to do for this re-release of Phantom Dust, right?
So what are some of the things that you've been able to do then? Like I know that there's it's now 16 by 9 during combat gameplay and stuff. You've got achievements and stuff like that. What were the things you were able to do while kind of reverse engineering the original Xbox game?
So the biggest thing is moving to 16 by 9 and also moving to native resolution. So what that basically means is that if you're playing on Xbox One, you're running at 1080, so the game is going to render at 1080. If you're on a PC and you're playing with 4K resolution, the game will render its assets at 4K. So basically, if you put it in a window, it'll be the resolution will be the window size. So we've been able to actually take full advantage of whatever you're playing on and render Phantom Dust correctly at that resolution. Now again, it's the original assets, but the original assets hold up really well. It's really surprising. When we first got the game running and we actually switched it over to PC and we're able to actually see the game running with the original assets, we're like, wait, this actually still looks pretty good.
Something that really blew me away was looking over this footage and going to areas like the level city, for example, or palace, places where you see signposts and text and stuff. The fact that all of that text is now legible and readable, I at first when I saw this footage, my immediate reaction was that you guys had gone in and redone the textures or something. But you're saying these are the original textures, we just weren't able to see them on the original Xbox at kind of this quality, at this resolution?
Yeah, that's correct. All of the stuff in the game, the detail work and the amount of care and quality they put into Phantom Dust is amazing. And to be able to actually see what the boards look like now and to read the papers in the office in Panorama, right? Or to be able to actually look at all the signs in City, which is one of my favorite looking levels. It's just amazing. There was all this detail that we never caught before, on the original and on the 360 back compat version, because we could actually see what the game looked like when they were building it. which has been, just super fun to be able to go and like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Like you can read everything, like you said. Um, the other big challenge that we had was, the original game was a DirectX 8 game, and this is a DX 11 game. And PC drivers are built to make things really easy for legacy DX8 products, but for the Xbox that was a big task too. So we had to basically work through and re-optimize the entire game for a DX 1112 machine, which is an Xbox One, as opposed to what it was before, which was really a task. And on top of that, we had visual effects. There's hundreds of shaders in the game. And so we've been going through one by one and converting them over to modern equivalents, and which was just kind of painstaking, nuanced work. I mean, for a while, the water in all of the refinery level was just a flat block because the water shaders were relying on all this crazy tech that existed in the original Xbox, and relying on the way the memory was handled in the original Xbox. So we had to re-enable that and duplicate it in a modern way. So again, everything that we've done has been this kind of hard-earned victory to making the game more enjoyable for modern day gamers.
That's really rad. So another thing that I'm really interested in is like the ramp up and how you guys deal with, because one thing and I know as people who play the original Phantom Dust is that game kind of ramps you up pretty slowly into the deck building part of the game, and this is a game that is like has really really great multiplayer, but in the original, if you wanted to play multiplayer and you hadn't unlocked deck building yet, you were kind of limited to a few arsenals. How is that handled in this new version of Phantom Dust?
So we've done a couple of things to make that transition easier. First is that you can now skip missions. So if you fail 3 times on any mission while you're playing the campaign, you can skip it. So we found that there's some people that just, you, me, a bunch of the other diehard Phantom Dust players are really good at figuring out how the game works and getting into the mechanics. But there are a lot of people that are still, it's challenging to play a game like this where you're trying to think and use your cards at the same time, use your skills, and make these kind of critical decisions. So we've added the skip feature to allow people that just want to enjoy the game to be able to skip through it. So that's one thing that we've done. And you still get your rewards, and we're okay with that, right? There are some achievements that are tied to not skipping and doing kind of challenging things. So, if people just want to experience the wonderful story of Phantom Dust, that's definitely one way they can do it and still get all of the skills and stuff to get them into multiplayer. But beyond that, we've also added, there's a download, a free DLC download that you can do the minute you start the game that gives you a whole bunch of skills and an arsenal case, so you can jump right into multiplayer with a nice assortment of cards that you can build decks from. We've also got a whole bunch of accelerants that are in the game on the multiplayer side, so if you want all of the skills immediately, I think it's a couple bucks. You can get all of the skills. And we haven't changed anything about the way that the original game worked. We've just added this as a convenience thing. So if people want to grind and they want to play exactly like they did when the original game came out, that is all in place. Everything about how the game works and functions is there. But we really wanted to allow people to jump into multiplayer and play immediately. We've also unlocked the shop. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the game, the shop is basically functions almost like a card shop that you would go into to buy Magic cards or a gaming store. You buy packs. You can get random cards or specific cards from them, and that used to be tied to the solo player progression, and that was for balance reasons, right? So someone who couldn't go to multiplayer and get all these crazy skills and then go back to solo player and just crush the solo player game. So we've split the data essentially. So now you have a multiplayer save and a solo player save, and the way it works is that everything that you earn in solo play flows into multiplayer. So every skill that you earn, all the credits you earn, also show up in the multiplayer side. But anything you earn in multiplayer stays in multiplayer. And what we did is the shop is now unlocked on the multiplayer side. So all the skills that you could immediately buy, that you couldn't immediately buy, that were held to the end of the game, those are all available right from the start now. So people can jump in and just start playing multiplayer and have access and start building their arsenals and creating all of the cool power collections that they really love from the get-go just by earning credits.
Another thing I'm really curious about is like the process of remastering this game. You mentioned like going in and trying to find the original source code and stuff. I would love to hear about like what else you uncovered about how Phantom Dust was originally made, because that game's development is like fascinating. It was directed obviously by Yukio Futatsugi. I know some of the playtesting at least was done here in the United States in Redmond, Washington. Did you find a lot of like cool art assets and stuff, and like weird legacy stuff for when you were going back and digging up the history on this 2004 game?
Yeah, so the archives that we got, like I said, we never found, there was never an archive of the final source code, but we did find some mid source code, which actually helped us a lot in getting some of the data going. But aside from that, I have a treasure trove, and I've showed a couple of these things on Twitter over time, of concept art, design documents. Originally, there was an aquarium level planned that only has a few pieces of concept art for it and a couple of jots about the aquarium and what it was supposed to have in it. There was also Funhouse Carnival level, which I think was...
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, that I have a concept piece for, too, that we can share. But there was a bunch of levels that were cut from the game, and I have a feeling they had to do with the story, which I don't want to spoil anything while we're talking about it for the people that are going to experience it, because it is really a great story. But yeah, I think there's some things that distinctly tied into some of the characters' memories about the past. But yeah, those were one of the two really cool standouts. We're finding that there were these levels that were never created. You know, it would be really fun at some point if Phantom Dust is popular with people, that we could go back and try to actually build those levels. I mean, I didn't find any design layouts for them, but I mean, we could definitely take a stab at bringing them back in some interesting ways.
Is that something that theoretically you could do now that you guys have like access to the, like how deep into the original code were you able to get? Could you theoretically do like DLC or balance updates or new card packs for the game now?
So the really cool thing is that on the data side, we can do anything. And the great thing is we've moved all of the card data up into the cloud. So on a daily basis, I could completely rebalance the game right now. Every single skill in the game could be changed.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. We could also add new skills. The caveat we have is that right now, because again, we don't have the source code open to be able to completely hack things and change and add new features, I can take any combination of any skills that exist in the game currently, even in the DLC skills, and munch them together in completely new ways to create new skills. So,
Gotcha.
Combining two skills, taking abilities from, we can make anything within that scope. We can make new skills. Stages.
So you could take a crawler and then add the fireball effect to it, make it do 10,000 damage, and make it cost 0 aura if you wanted to, right?
Yeah. So we took like Psycho Knife and we made it do like 99 damage, and we're just running around one hitting everyone just as an experiment to see how quickly we could do things, right? We've discussed changing all of the environmental capsules, the ones that stick around on the boards, to make sure that they actually expire over time, so we get around the hanging issue. Because we couldn't fix hanging the way we'd want to, which is, hey, you blow up the geometry, the capsule falls and destroys itself. We couldn't do that because we can't get to the source.
Yeah.
So hey, but I can add time expiring to all of the capsules because that's in the code. But yeah, data side, we can do anything. This was a very Japanese game in terms of how it handled its assets, and what I mean by that is the organization is not ideal. I mean, the game was done in 2004, so the notion of how you would put assets together and store them was a little different. So I don't know if we could promise like making new stages or stuff like that. I would love to explore that though. That's something that I'd be super super excited to do is add more stages, more characters, more stuff like that people can kind of get really excited about.
You also met, like, another thing I know that you stumbled across, because I saw you mention this on Twitter, is at a kind of a late stage in the development of this re-release, you found uncompressed versions of all the cutscenes in the game, because the cutscenes had to be compressed to fit on the original Xbox data disc. You guys found uncompressed versions of those renders, and those are going to be in the shipping game, right?
Yes, that's correct. The original game took, a 1.4 gigabyte intro from the source asset and compressed it down to something like 40 megs. I mean, it was ridiculous. The compression was insane.
And that's 2004 compression. It wasn't even like as good as contemporary compression, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, I was able to find again in this treasure trove of assets, and I mean there are thousands of folders. I don't think I've even finished going through the entire archive. Thousands of folders, all in Japanese, which of course I'm not very fluent in. All buried user folders. They captured everything from all of the users all of the people that were working on the game, and digging around in some of those folders, I found, the original silk screens for the CDs, all this concept art of stuff that I never even knew existed, like the aquarium levels, right? The cinematics in uncompressed format. and it was a great find. And it was one of those like, hey, I found cinematics, can we get these in? And sure enough, we were able to sync up the audio again, because the cinematics didn't have audio included. They were the ones coming right off the rendering, and able to get those in so that we could have just a better preservation of the game and what it was. And I guess that kind of goes for the game as a whole, right? Even the assets that you're seeing, the textures and the objects are actually being shown at how they were developed now, rather than how they ended up on the box because they had to be compressed and kind of rezzed down in order to fit on the disc.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of wrap up a bit, like what is your kind of hope for this release? I don't think there's a date yet, but I guess I'm asking, like, do you hope to see, as a kind of a fighting game guy, I know you have a history with Killer Instinct and other projects, like, do you hope this reinvigorates the Phantom Dust community or introduces it to a whole new set of people who never played it? Like, what do you hope happens the day that this game drops?
My biggest hope is that people's, this is a unique game, and you don't get to say that very often, right? I mean, a lot of people will claim, oh my gosh, it's a unique game, it's this. But a lot of games are very similar, right, in form and play. This game is so unique, and it's so different than anything else that I think that's existed, that my hope is that people actually discover and are able to appreciate this game that didn't really get a chance to have that appreciation the first time around. I want people to play it, right? I want multiplayer to be successful. Killer Instinct has been a really wonderful game for us at Microsoft, and people just love it, and they keep playing it. And if people just love and keep playing Phantom Dust, especially the multiplayer, that makes a really great argument for us to do more stuff with Phantom Dust. And that's really what I want out of it, is just want people to play and experience and enjoy something that was unique in video games, that, was kind of a rare gem. And now we want to let everyone, have a stab at playing it and enjoying it. We have been going through and squashing VFX bugs, fixing that duplication, the dupe in the anti-game, and doing all kinds of other fun tweaks and polishes, and even doing some closed beta stuff to make sure that the multiplayer is up to par. But yeah, it's coming out soon.
Sweet, that's super. And nothing to share yet about the specific price and anything like that.
Yeah, I will say I think everyone will be very happy when it comes to price and all that, but I can't discuss that specifically.
All right, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for your time. I'm super, super pumped. This is literally, when people ask me what my favorite video game is, my knee-jerk reaction for the past 13 years has been to say Phantom Dust, and now, I have an easy way to share the game with someone that isn't, digging up a copy and telling them to plug in their 360 again and boot it up. So this is, for me personally, I'm glad for people to hopefully rediscover this game.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's it. I mean, I think the interesting thing about this game is once it clicks with you, you kind of become a zealot about the game. Like, oh my gosh, how is this game not known more in the community? How is this game skipped over? How come not a lot of people know about this game? And I hit that same point when I played it originally, and it finally clicked, because at first it didn't. I'm like, what am I doing? And then bam, and then you're like, holy cow, how is this game not more popular? I mean, I would love to see this game, like you were asking, I would love to see this game in tournaments again. I would love to see people picking up 2v2 teams and seeing it streamed and seeing tournaments happen, because man, the dynamics between players when you've got 2v2 with 300 different skills, and people have made these kind of complementary decks for each other on their teams, is some incredible gameplay, not just in the deck building, but also in the action that happens in the arenas. And I really want to see that, and I'm hoping that people really find it and discover it and appreciate it as much as you and myself and the other diehards that have been playing this game for the last 14 years.
Yep. I'm hopeful for that too. Thank you so much for your time. And if you want to see more coverage of Phantom Dust and just anything video games, you can stay tuned here. We're Polygon. You can find more videos at youtube.com/Polygon. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.